Welcome, dear friends, to Cardiac Radio at 11 p.m., nourishing our souls with one more Immortal Messages. Immortal Messages is a program that comes to talk about this phenomenal book, Instruções Psicofônicas, Psychophonic Instructions. Several spirits through Chico Xavier came and spoke through him and left imprinted in that book. Of course, it was first recorded. In this tape recorder, you can see on this background image that was produced by Versátil Editora in a beautiful DVD that has all the records. You can listen to the messages through Chico Xavier. And through Chico Xavier, these spirits are teaching us lessons for immortality. I think tonight this message is shocking and you may be a little puzzled. But that's good because we need to go deeper and deeper and deeper. You agree? Spiritism is phenomenal, is a message of consolation, of hope, of joy. And yet, it doesn't fix us because we need to fix ourselves. It's like somebody who has a pen and a paper, but doesn't use the pen and the paper to write. Spiritism is this pen and paper, but if we don't make our effort, it's fruitless. Why am I saying this? Because tonight, this companion of struggle, a spiritist, is going to tell us his story. His name is Lima. We don't know more than that. And Arnaldo Rocha tells us that he came on the night of August 12th, 1954, 66 years ago. But the question is, are you ready? I know you are coming, you're joining us, and if you're watching this on demand, remember, listening to it, watching it, let us really focus on the message because this message brings to us new clarifications. All right, begin it. Arnaldo Rocha, who was the incarnate director of this meeting, comes and explains the scenario for us. He says, on the night of August 12th, 1954, a former spiritist friend from Belo Horizonte, whom we're simply going to call Lima, came after our activities, and he had a fraternal respect towards everybody. He was the father of a certain family. He had a great socioeconomic position when he was incarnated. And he used to be a spiritist and participate in mediumistic meetings. He was actually a spiritist, a spirit counselor in mediumistic meetings. And in 1949, 5 years before he communicates, he committed suicide to the surprise of everybody who knew him. Now he comes in a moving story, sharing with us a warning. You're surprised? A spiritist, a spirit counselor who committed suicide. How can that be possible? Check it out. You may find the answer. Lima begins through Chico Xavier saying the following. I come from the dark region of the undead, in the manner of many living dead on earth. Spiritism was my great opportunity. I was a medium. I was a counselor of spirits in need. I helped the suffering and transgressed brothers and sisters so they could receive the light for their path. I received the instructions from the masters of wisdom and tried to accommodate myself within the truths that are today your highest spiritual asset. I was consoled and comforted. The sick, the weak, the desperate, the sad, the unsuccessful, the discouraged, the defeated of luck, often gather together with us and me. Through prayer, I collaborated so that their restoration would take effect. But in the circle of my activities, he's talking about personal activities, doubt was like a fog dulling my soul. Okay? And little by little, I became entangled in the wiles of old enemies, waving to me the past that keeps relevance over our present, that is too powerful for us to understand promptly the evidence. Such adversaries subtly imposed on me the past that has been unleashed within me, fustigating the germs of goodwill, and the strong wind punishes the tender grass. While life was hard, distressing trials, work was my refuge. However, as time worked as a heavenly tranquilizer to my wounds, sweetening my trials, the rest I conquered as I infiltrated in my life. I allowed the infiltration in my life of the venomous anesthetic through which the disturbing forces reached my inner world. And so the idea of self-destruction overwhelmed my thinking. I was reluctant until at a given time my weakness became defeat. To say what suicide was to an apprentice of faith we embraced, or to relate the torment of a spirit conscious of its own responsibility, is a task beyond my means. I only know that despising my body of flesh, I felt alone and happy and unhappy. I wandered in the shadows of myself, as if I had been tied to a log of fire, licked by the flames of remorse. After much time of agonized contrition, I realized that the heavenly relief came to me. I felt more serene, more lucid. Since then, however, I am in the condition of that rich man in the gospel parable, because many of the incarnate and discarnates who received with me the crumbs that were left at the table, now they show up before my vision, victorious and happy. As I feel myself burning in the invisible flame of repentance, listening to my own conscience, execrating me and shouting, resign yourself to expiatory suffering. When you enjoy the banquet of light, the Lazarus of the shadow, triumphant today, only experience bitterness and tears. I impose on myself the duty of claiming to all comrades as to the imposition of constant service. The indefatigable action in the good is similar to the light of the sun, reflecting in the mirror of our mind and projecting from us on the road of others. However, in the rest beyond necessary, our inner life begins to portray the obscure images of our past existences, which only adversaries take advantage of, ruining the purposes of our regeneration. Communicating with you, I associate myself with your prayers. I am your brother Lima, companion of journey, a medium who for several years kept the torch of truth in his hands without knowing how to enlighten myself. I believe that an ulcerated and hungry beggar at your door would not inspire you greater compassion. I cut the thread of my responsibility. Generous friends extend my arms here. However, I see myself in the position of the sentenced that condemns himself because my conscience cannot forgive it. I feel compelled to return. Incarnating compels me to return. However, before the necessary ordeal, I visit as much as possible the familiar environment of our faith, seeking to show our Spiritist brothers and sisters that our table of fraternity and prayer symbolizes the altar of universal love of Jesus Christ. With us, we have that simple cenacle in which the Lord has gathered the companions of the sublime apostolate. Of all religions, Spiritism is the most beautiful, for giving us pure and free prayer around this sacred cross as priests of ourselves, in search of the divine inspiration that is never denied to humble hearts, who accept pain and struggle for the basic elements of their own redemption. I am begging the Lord to grant me, in due time, the grace to reincarnate in a brothel for having scorned the home that was my temple. It is indispensable that I suffer to redeem myself before life. I do not deserve the smile and the open arms of our benefactors before the libel of my own judgment. I should have enjoyed the treasure of friendship while the day was clear, and when in the flesh I was joined to my existence as an instrument capable of renewal. My friends, may my tears be an example to you all. I am the worker who left the field before the right time. The torment of desertion hurts more than the martyrdom of defeat. I must return. I will re-enter the door of anguish. I shall be rejected because I have rejected. I will be despised for having despised without consideration. And later, I will chain myself again to old adversaries. Without the forge of temptation, I will not get the readjustment. Therefore, I pray to God, so that the work does not leave my hands and that the affliction does not abandon me. May the lack of everything be spiritual help for my benefit, and if necessary, may leprosy cover me and protect me so I can finally win. Do not forget me in the vibrations of friendship, and may Jesus bless us all. Lima. Did you figure out why he committed suicide? In the message, we have elements. He's feeling guilty. So guilt is an open door. Remorse and guilt open doors to obsession. And of course, who doesn't feel guilt or remorse? Because we're still falling and standing up, and falling and standing up. This is the movement of life. We fall, stand up. We fall, we stand up. The problem is when we fall and we don't stand up. This is Lima's case. But where did he make a mistake? Sex. You can tell. He had a family, beautiful family. He was a man of good material resources. He was a spiritist. He worked in mediumship meetings. But in his personal life, he says it. He despised the blessings of the home. Didn't value it. He, not only that, he rejected. Yes, some women, as Mentor Joseph is clarifying, some women got pregnant and he didn't want the babies. Some committed abortion, others had the babies, couldn't take care of them. All these were in the book of his personal accounting. And he couldn't take the remorse, which opened the door. He says here, in my circle of activities, doubt fogged his soul. So now, right now, if you're like, oh my gosh, I thought that knowing Spiritism and practicing it and going as deep as possible, I would be shielded. No, Because Jesus said to Nicodemus, we need to feel it. He didn't feel it. He was doing everything mechanically, like many people do. They go to the meetings and they do execute very well. But you go to their personal lives, it's like another life. There are spiritists whom I know. In their daily life, they don't want to talk about spiritism. They think spiritism is something to talk about in the center. In their daily life, no, I don't want to talk about these things. Come on. This is not the time. And what happens? They make connections. Like he did. He says, I became entangled in the wiles of old enemies, waving to me the past. They're saying, hello, I'm here. Why? Because we make choices. You go to your home, and then you start doing your things. And when you do your things, right, you think, I'm entitled to these things. Spiritism, I already did so much. I already helped people in both realms. And then I go home and I start living a life that doesn't have coherence. So this is the word, coherence. Lima wants us to reflect on his incoherences. But where are we in our incoherence? Let's give examples to make it tangible. You go sit on your computer and you see lots of pictures of men who are naked, right? And you think, oh my gosh, somebody posted it on your WhatsApp, on your Instagram, whatever. And you keep admiring. And then you make a habit, pornography. You make a habit. And you think, I'm not doing any harm. That's what you think. When we are seeing something that is like pornography, we're connecting to that mind of that person. We are becoming a vampire to the person who is naked. But I don't know that person. It doesn't matter. You become connected, sucking the energies. And of course, the people feel. Marilyn Monroe is the example of suffering this constant mental darts that were emitted to her. She talks about it in a message by Brother X through Chico Xavier. And we are vampirizing the people. The consequences are dramatic for both of us. Watching pornography is a way to vampirize people's energies, but you're also being vampirized in your own energies. When you use apps like Tinder, right? People talk about it. One night stands. You are also making connections that will predispose you not only to being a vampire. I need that energy. I need that casual sex. And then you are also being vampirized. When you travel and go to hotel rooms, make sure you say a prayer. Because you never know who used that bed before you did. When you go to a hospital, do the same. Because studies show in Spiritism that it stays. I remember Raul Teixeira sharing a story of when he entered a bedroom in a hotel room. And he was laying down to rest a little bit. And the spirit friend, his mentor Camilo, said, stand up quickly. Observe at the wall of the headboard of your bed. There was a spirit that was camouflaged on the wall with the intention of suffocating Raul Teixeira. And Camilo, his spirit instructor, said, start praying. ASAP. He started praying. Pray. You enter the bed, the room, and you pray. Visualizing the cleansing, even before you go to the hotel. You're not only helping yourself, but you're helping the entities that will be rescued and even everybody who is there. But you go to a brothel, you go to these one-night stands, you're also opening doors for these very low vibrations, connecting with spirits that are addicted to sex and will suck your energies, making you addicted to sex too, and becoming sex addict. Like Lima, in a way. We don't want to judge, but we are deeply observing the elements in this and the consequences. Because sometimes people get pregnant and then abortions happen. He didn't want the children. Or the children were born, he didn't recognize, he despised them, he abandoned them. And then the guilt started boiling up, boiling up, boiling up. The connections he made with these obsessors from previous lives came to him and said, I can't believe you're still like this. And the remorse was destroying him inside, and the voices were taking over, pushing him to the abyss of suicide. What is the antidote to this? Again, we thought that just by knowing that life goes on, the ethical moral code of Jesus is enough to protect us. But knowing is not enough. Lima forgot to feel it, and so do we. We give excuses and justifications. We know it, and we keep doing stuff. We know that when we're speaking ill of others, one thing is for you, as a teacher in a school or university, you have a meeting, or as a therapist, when you need to discuss the psychiatric cases with the whole team. You're talking about the case to understand it and to address the issues. Or when you are an administrator and you need to address the issues of your company and you need to talk about people's behavior to address it, securing the benefit of the general good. But the other thing is when we spend time talking about the lives of others. And we think, I'm not doing anything. We are. We are. Yes, we are. We're talking about. And consequences exist. At that minute, when we're talking bad about people, we are opening the doors to spirits who dislike us, or spirits who like the people whom we're talking about, and they are not too superior. They come and avenge them. They may not know, but our familiar spirits may not be very evolved. They know of it, and they go and avenge that person. In the Spiritist magazine by Kardec, we have such case. These two women, sisters, were living in a house, and they like talking about the neighbors' lives. And then one day, they started hearing taps, noises, raps. They were scared. Pens were flying on them. They asked Kardec for help. In a mediumistic meeting, the spirits came and said, you know what? We're teaching them a lesson. Because they don't stop talking about people's lives. It's amazing. We're teaching them a lesson. Like Lima, he says, in my personal circle, I opened the door. And I kept working hard, like pretending nothing is happening, like many people do. They're feeling guilty and remorse. They don't go find help. If you're feeling guilt and remorse, find therapy. A good therapist will help you conquer the steps out of guilt and remorse. But I would say the best therapy is in the gospel. Repeat to yourself daily, I forgive myself, but then you change. Repenting, forgiving yourself, but going back to the same mistake doesn't work, right? So we need to have help. In terms of sexual addiction, it's hard to tell if people can get it out without external help. You usually need a lot of help. Emotional, spiritual help, and I would say moral help, because this is about moral concepts we need to change fundamentally. So inevitably, it's about this force of death that he's cultivating, because whenever we are against the forces of life, of God, we are cultivating this impulse of death. And that's why homicide and suicide are just next door. And that's why the spirits come to us, because we're cultivating. I would say in psychological terms that obsession takes place when we allow the impulse of death to be stronger than the impulse of life in us. When we seek the good, which is the impulse of life, obsession does not take place. How do we know? Because it's about frequency. You think of the good, you connect with minds that think of the good, you are in another vibration. Those who are thinking evil do not connect. Let people think, keep doing the good. Lima was not coherent. He says, Spiritism was my great opportunity, but, he says, I ruined my regeneration. And the spirits took over. I wouldn't say that he committed suicide because the spirits pushed him to suicide. We would say, as he said, he was not coherent. He was dropping the ball, making huge mistakes. And in those mistakes, he was attracting the former obsessors, spirits who were adversary in previous lives, whom he hurt, to avenge him. And his remorse let him fall prey. Study and read the book Sex and Destiny. This book is also on Kardec Radio in its podcast, SoundCloud. Just go there and there is a playlist. You can listen to the beautiful programs and listen to the book and understand how guilt, remorse may make us be prey of spirits who dislike us. Well, thank God, life goes on. Thank God there is always a new opportunity. But as he said, now he's going to have to begin another reincarnation. He's going to be born in a brothel. His mother will be a prostitute. He's going to be abandoned. He's going to be despised. And he's going to go through worse situations to make sure he fixes his emotions. The torment of desertion hurts more than the martyrdom of defeat. And the fact that he left the duties he needed to fulfill with his family in the spiritist circle hurts him deeply. I'll open a parenthesis here to give you a strong case about it. Chico Xavier had several friends helping him, but there was one in particular which we send all of our respect. He's discarnated. His name is Valdo Vieira. Valdo Vieira, who traveled with with Chico Xavier to the United States in 1965 and 1966. And once here, he abandoned Chico Xavier. He deserted Spiritism too. Unbelievable, because he was a medium at Chico Xavier's stature in terms of abilities. Read the book Evolution into Worlds, Mechanisms of Mediumship, you're going to see. You can't tell who wrote which chapter, who was the medium of each chapter. You can't, because they are beautiful mediums. But through several issues, personal issues, he deserted the friendship, the mission, and the consequences are still resented today. One day, somebody asked Chico Xavier, Dr. Merlene Nobre, who is discarnated, and we send her a hug wherever she is, appreciating her works and hoping that she continues helping from where she is. But I remember she saying it to us directly, to Carlos and I. She said, once I asked Chico, what's going to happen with Valdo Vieira when he discarnates? Emmanuel, through Chico, said, he's going to spend 1,500 years working on himself in successors' reincarnations until he is given a similar opportunity. And I hear sometimes people giving up on their spiritist tasks, thinking that there are no consequences. But only God knows when you're going to be granted another opportunity like this. But more important than fulfilling the tasks is filling the scriptures. We're being asked to be coherent. What is the exercise in the next 24 hours according to this message? Let us take pen and paper, okay? Pen and paper, as we said at the beginning. And observing the next 24 hours. Which are the top 3 incoherences in our life? And I'm talking about what Spiritism teaches and what we don't do yet. Write it down for your benefit. Don't need to send to us. Write it down. And let us observe what they are. And the good spirits ask them during the night when we go to sleep, that we receive enough instruction and help to adjust them. 3 incoherences. This is our exercise for the next 24 hours. A lot of food for thought. But let us express our gratitude, because tonight we're being warned about something that may be so important for this life to succeed. 3 incoherences. Write it down, meditate, and ask your protecting spirit to bring to therapeutic clinics in the spiritual realm to help you fix them up sooner than later. I'm going to play here a music so we can pray together, okay? Let us pray together for this beautiful moment that we're living right now, the awareness of it all, okay? It's Ave Maria by Schubert. 1 second, and go. Let us feel in the song this prayer inside of our hearts, calling for help. Dear God, we have many incoherences we need to adjust. And we thank you for the opportunity you're granting us to find out about them sooner than later. We thank you for this message, who reminds us of the urgency of this matter. We thank the Legion of Mother Mary and her servants for the warning and for the rescue work of those who committed suicide. We also pray for those who are thinking of it. May they feel a blanket of healing light enveloping them in new and renewed strength. Thank you, God. And now we want to continue in this silent prayer, listening to this song prayer as well. Let us allow our hearts to be healed and be treated, washing away feelings of guilt and remorse, opening ourselves for divine mercy and waters of renewal. Yes, dear friends, this was a moment of therapy for us to heal the hearts and wash the negative emotions. Think about the three incoherences and write them down. Let's keep working on it. And when you find it very hard, play the Ave Maria, this one by Schubert, you can find on YouTube. Listen to it and visualize waters of healing, washing away these emotions and renewing yourself. In forgiveness for the self, forgiveness towards others, reconciliation with God. We wish you lots of blessings, and we hope to be back here tomorrow in another episode of Immortal Messages at Kardec Radio. Always, always nourishing our soul.